Welcome to the Cornerstone Overview and Navigation Training. My name is Karen Mabry, Learning and Development Specialist with UIC HR. It is my pleasure to continue as your tour guide as we become a little bit more comfortable and familiar with a new applicant tracking system, Cornerstone. Today, we will be exploring the following. We will be taking a look at why Cornerstone is being implemented and the benefits of this applicant tracking system. We will explore its features and functionality. We will explore some navigation basics. And we're going to take a brief look at how Cornerstone integrates with other HR systems that we are currently using today. Now, I'm sure the question that most of you have is why Cornerstone? Why is this system being brought to us here at UIC? And the answer to that is really simple. Cornerstone is a recruiting software that will aid us in saving time and effort. It will assist us in attracting the best fit candidates, and it will aid us in uncovering hidden talent both internally and externally. When I considered the benefits of Cornerstone and what it will bring to us here at UIC, I was able to categorize them into four pillars or four categories. So when you think about Cornerstone, I want you to think about its ease of use, the experience that us as users and candidates will have, the collaboration tools that are built into place or built into the system, and the integration that it has with the other HR systems that we currently use. Now, the first pillar is ease of use. Cornerstone will simplify the application process for our applicants. Cornerstone offers resume parsing. And if you're not familiar with what that is, resume parsing is where it takes the application and it extracts the information needed for that application from the resume. So it makes the process of the completing the application a lot easier for the applicant. Cornerstone will also offer the ability to submit electronic offer letters, and it will allow us to request faculty letters of reference right from the system. When it comes to experience, it will improve our experience as users by offering a single page to manage candidates across all of the requisitions that we are looking to hire for. And it will provide a single portal for candidates to manage their job submissions. And it will also improve our reporting. Cornerstone will allow search committee members access and certain capabilities so that they can collaborate with us on the hiring process. And then it will allow for approvals to be granted electronically. Now, the last pillar is integration. Cornerstone integrates with our job description system, JD Expert. And because of this, we will have the assurance that the information that feeds over is approved and accurate job information. Cornerstone also integrates with our personnel register management system, which will allow us to streamline our civil service recruiting. Now, as we look at the journey of the vacancy request or job description, it starts off its journey in JD Expert. So the vacancy request or job description is created and approved in JD Expert. And then 4 times throughout the day, it will be fed over to Cornerstone. Now, this integration will occur every 6 hours. And the current timeline that has been selected is 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m., and 3 a.m. Once that information is fed over to Cornerstone, you will be able to complete the requisition, have that requisition approved, post that job, and then our applicants will have the ability to apply to those jobs. And because of the integration between JD Expert and Cornerstone, there will be certain information that will automatically feed over. The illustration here encompasses the main components of the job description that will fill over, but there is some other data that will feed over as well. But just be aware that the job information, job summary, duties, and the minimum requirements will feed over from the vacancy request to the requisition in Cornerstone. And because of this, we have the assurance that the information is accurate and approved information on the requisition. When we consider the recruitment lifecycle, Cornerstone will allow us to complete requisitions, have those approved, post those jobs, and have applicants or facilitate applicants applying to those jobs. Once that has happened, we'll then be able to manage those applicants, extend invitations for interviews, request references, submit electronic offer letters, perform background checks, and then ultimately hire the finalist that is the best fit for us here at UIC. Now, as we get started with diving a little bit deeper into Cornerstone, I want to start the discussion by looking at some new terminology that you will be hearing throughout this presentation and in Cornerstone itself. The very first of those is a requisition. Now, a requisition was formerly called a job in higher touch. So if you can correlate these two terms, then you will have an idea of what we are talking about. But essentially, a job requisition is the data that is being fed from the vacancy request in JD Expert. And then we use that information to define the recruitment lifecycle depending upon the employee group and the role in which we are looking to hire. Now, the next term is career site. The career site is the external and internal pages that feature job postings. Now, the external site is the public site that our external candidates would have access to. And then the internal career site is the one in which us as UIC employees, including the hospital and our satellite campuses, will have access to view any job postings that have become available within the UIC family. So external, public, internal, private, employee access only. So think about that when you compare the two types of career sites. And then the last term is organizational units. Organizational units are categories used to group employees or requisitions in Cornerstone. There will be a small portion during this presentation where this will come up. So we just want to kind of make you aware of what that term is. And just like JD Expert and Cornerstone, there will be a variety of users or roles who will be accessing the system. And depending upon your role in the hiring process, that will determine your security access. Now, the primary owner was identified as the requisition owner in JD Expert. So the requisition owner, the primary owner, they have the ability to manage the requisition and make edits as necessary. So they are given partial management rights for the requisition, as well as access to all of the candidate submissions. Now, reviewers, they're just given access to the candidate submissions, not the requisition itself. The hiring manager is the primary reviewer. Next, we have the interviewers, who are given access to submissions that are scheduled for interviews. And then an approver is the appropriate authority depending on the particular point in the hiring process. This can include the involvement of the Office for Access and Equity, for approval of requisitions for faculty and academic professional roles, and then whatever else or whatever other approval is deemed necessary by that particular department. And whenever we're dealing with candidate information, there is some security and confidentiality that we have to consider. And so security access to all job requisitions and candidate information will be granted by department only. So if you're looking to access the candidate pool of another department, you will not be able to do so because you will not have security access. We ask that you only initiate actions in Cornerstone in which you're authorized. So if you're not authorized to send an offer letter, if you're not authorized to facilitate a background check, please do not attempt to do so. And then please only access candidate information relevant to the position in which you are hiring for. So now that we have those housekeeping things, if you will, out of the way, we're going to actually get into the Cornerstone system itself. And we're going to begin by logging into Cornerstone. At the time of this recording, the Cornerstone link is not active on the UIC HR website, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of where you will find the Cornerstone system once it goes live. So to log into Cornerstone, we will start by, of course, going to the UIC Human Resources site. In the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to click on Systems. You will then scroll down to the Human Resources section of the site. If the link is not available via the first set of links, you're going to click on More HR Applications, and the link will be found there. But to give you an example, JD Expert is now live, so we're going to click on that link. As you will, the Cornerstone link, once it is live, you will log in with your Net ID and password, and then you will log into the system. Now, once you have logged in, this is the dashboard that will appear. This is the hiring dashboard. I consider this kind of to be a data hub or a snapshot of what is going on with your applicants and requisitions. As you can see, on my dashboard, I have a number of applicants, 8 active applicants to be exact. There's data about those applicants regarding the phase in the hiring process in which they are. There's an approval section of the dashboard, so if there's any requisitions or other items that require my approval, you will see those there. For interviews, you're able to provide, the system notifies you if there's any interviews that are awaiting your feedback, or if there are any interview requests awaiting your response, or if you have any upcoming interviews scheduled for any of your requisitions. Under the requisition portion, you're able to see data about the individual requisitions assigned to you that have active applicants. And then you're able to see at what stage in the process those applicants are. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, under the menu bar, or the hamburger menu as we call it, you'll see your profile. It is indicated, your profile information is indicated, so your name. Under the home drop-down menu, you'll have access to the internal career site, as well as your profile in Cornerstone. Under the recruit option, you see that there are a number of actions that you can take in Cornerstone. We will be focusing on just a few of those today. We will primarily be focusing on the create and manage requisitions and the manage candidates options. Now, if we go down to the reports drop down, this is where you will find that reporting once it becomes available. Now we'll get into the completion of the requisition. Now, as I mentioned, the vacancy request or job description in JD Expert feeds over to Cornerstone, and it creates a requisition in which you as the owner will have to take action on. You as the owner will be identified in JD Expert, so that assignment automatically happens as the integration occurs. So when you're on the hiring dashboard, you will have to locate those requisitions in which you need to take action on. So in order to do so, once you have arrived at the hiring dashboard, What you're going to do is go to the menu bar in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, or that hamburger menu as we call it. As we click there, we're going to go to the recruit dropdown and then create and manage requisitions. As we land on the next screen, you'll see that there are a number of search parameters available for your use. And then under My Jobs, you see a list of requisitions in which I have been assigned as the owner. Now, if there's a requisition that I'm looking to take action on in which I am not the owner, you will click on All Jobs to access other requisitions within your department. So that's key. You only have access to requisitions within your department. So I'm going to go back to My Jobs. And as you can see, for the Director of Finance role, it is in the draft status. So that is the requisition that will require my review and any editing if necessary. To begin the review process, we're going to start on the General tab of the requisition. So to begin, I'm going to click on the Director of Finance link, and it will bring up the requisition and prepare it for editing. So yes, you can see we're in the edit mode of the requisition. Again, we are starting with the General tab, which is the main source of information about this job. And as we move down, we're going to start at the top part of the screen under where you will see the job title and the requisition template. An important note here is to not edit this information. If you attempt to edit this information, it will destroy the feed of information from JD Expert. Under the details section of the requisition, you'll want to review each field for accuracy and completion. If there's anything that is missing, you're able to add that information or correct that information. As you proceed through your review, you want to ensure that all required fields are answered or that information is entered into all required fields. In this case, I noticed that the proposed salary information is not there, so I'm going to update that. And again, continue the review that all required fields have been answered. Now, what I noticed here is that the security questions were not answered because you see that they're still in the select status. So my response to all of these would be no for this particular role, so I'm going to proceed with answering those questions. And then another thing that I want to point out to you is the description feed status and qualifications feed status. As we get to the next portion of the requisition, you'll see the importance for those. But here it is indicated as pass. So what that means is that the feed from JD Expert to Cornerstone was successful. If it is indicated as failed, you'll want to review the information that is displaying in Cornerstone and compare it to JD Expert. So it may be necessary that you edit or copy and paste some information from JD Expert to Cornerstone to ensure the accuracy here on the requisition. So now under description and qualifications, this is where that feed comes over from JD Expert. It is passed, so you know all the information is there. But you do still have the ability to edit. You can play around with the formatting of the description. You want to make sure that there is summary information, duty information. Under qualifications, ensure that all minimum qualifications are listed. You have the ability to edit that field as well. Next, we'll proceed to the hiring team. Now, the primary owner is that requisition owner identified in JD Expert, and Garfield Logan was indicated. And you'll also see that Dorothy Gale is listed as the owner. So I have logged into the system as Dorothy Gale, and because I'm listed as an owner, I have access to this requisition, and I'm able to review and make changes as necessary. Now, as we move to the applicant reviewer section under the hiring team, you will notice here that the hiring manager has not been indicated. So in order to edit that information, what I'm going to do is click on the square box next to the in the hiring manager field where it says user, and I will update the requisition with the hiring manager's info. So you see there is a listing of names available, but you do have the capability to search as well. So I'm gonna start my search for the hiring manager. The first person that I searched for was not available, so I'm gonna facilitate an additional search. Okay, so now the hiring manager has been updated. Under that, you have the reviewer option. Here you can add additional reviewers, such as members of a search committee or any other party that will play a process in the review of this requisition. Next, we have applicant interviewers. Those parties who will be interviewing the client, you can indicate them here. They are not required to be added at this time. You can do so at a later point. Under the attachments, you will add any documents that are required for the review of this requisition. So for example, if the Office for Access and Equity requires certain documents to approve the requisition, you can add those or upload those attachments in this section. Under the approval section, for academic, professional, and faculty roles, this is where you will add the Office for Access and Equity. At this time, these are the only two employee groups that require approval of the requisition. But if your department has deemed that additional approvers are necessary or required, then you can add those approvers in this section as well. As we move to the requisition section, I'm going to ensure that the openings listed here match those openings indicated in JD Expert. And then I will simply click the next button to go to the next section of the requisition, which is the Job Ad tab. All right, as I mentioned, I will be clicking the next button to go to the next section of the requisition. And now we are at the Job Ad tab. This is the setup of the posting of the job to the career site, both external and internal. As you can see, there is a job posting template that has pre-filled for you. You do have the ability to review and edit this information as necessary. You can play around with the formatting. If you see some duplications, you can delete those. And if you want to preview the job ad or the job posting to see what it will look like, there is a preview button in which you can do so. Once all review and changes have been made, you will click the next button to go to the next section of the requisition. And now we are at the application workflow tab. This is the application that candidates will complete when they are applying to this job. As a user of the system, you will not have the ability to edit. If you find that the application is incorrect, you will need to update or make sure that the correct template has been selected for the role that you are looking to fill. As we scroll down, you'll see the data that is being collected, the questions that are being answered. This application is mobile friendly. And you do also have the ability to preview the application if you kind of want to take a look at it, what the applicant will be seeing. Okay, as I click that preview button, it's going to take a few seconds for that application to pop up. All right, you can see here, this is the application that the applicant will be completing. Once we're done with that review, you will click the next button to go to the next section of the requisition. Now, the final section or tab of the requisition is the applicant review tab. Now, this is the list of statuses that the candidate will move through as it goes through the review or hiring process. Okay. Once the candidate has met the minimum qualifications, then they will proceed to an interview, second interview. Once they have been deemed a finalist, then you will extend an offer letter. Here you are able to select the offer letter template. There's a point later on in the process where you can do so as well, but you do have the option to update that info here. And then they'll proceed through the steps until they become a finalist and until they are hired, excuse me. Now, what is key to note here is that once you have completed this review, this is the final section of the requisition. Now, there are two buttons, the submit button and the submit and manage postings button. The submit button will be selected for roles that require additional approval. So once you click that button, it will go into the approval queue so that those approvals can be obtained. If if the position does not require an approver, then you will click the submit and manage postings button so that we can proceed with posting this job on the internal and external career sites. And so with that, we're going to talk about, or I will walk you through how to post a job to the career sites. We're going to start with posting a job to the external career sites. You'll see that the external career site is just identified with the term career sites. You want to ensure that the UIC main job board has been selected, and then you will indicate the effective dates of the posting. If this is a role with the hospital, you will also select the UI Health Jobs board as well. Indicate those effective dates, and then you will click post. And you see that the post has been successfully made. What will happen is a hyperlink will appear on each one of those board options or career site options. And you're able to copy that link and post it to a browser to view the posting. And you can see that there are a few other career site options depending on the role that you are looking to fill. Now we'll take a look at how to post a job to the internal career site. And so you will simply scroll down to internal career site. Under OU criteria, you will select all users. And that OU criteria is that organizational unit that I spoke about earlier. In this case, we will be selecting all users because we want all employees at UIC, including the hospital and what we consider to be our satellite campuses, to have access to this job posting. You will indicate the effective dates. The effective dates do not have to match the external career site posting. So indicate the effective date and then click post. You see here that the status is indicated as open, and we have indicated effective dates for both the internal and external career sites. As long as those parameters are in place, the job will successfully post to those sites. Now, if the position still requires approval, then the job will not post to either site. Now, during this webinar, we're not going to get into details of how to grant your approval, in Cornerstone. But what I want to do is just kind of make you aware of some things to remember, if you will, about the approval process. And the first of those is that the Office for Access and Equity, their approval is required for academic, professional, and faculty positions only. Approval is optional for all other positions. And I believe I've said this a few times, but we kind of want to stress this point to all of you. Secondly, if you are an approver, you will receive notification two ways. You will receive an email notification to your Outlook inbox. And then if you recall during the walkthrough of the dashboard, there is an approval section of the dashboard where a notification will appear if there is a requisition that requires that you take action on. All right, we have the job posted. We have all approvals in place if they were required. And so now, hopefully, we have some applicants for these positions. And so what we're going to talk about next is how to manage those candidates. And first, we want to locate those candidates. In order to find a candidate, we're going to start on the hiring dashboard. In the upper right-hand corner, we're going to go to the hamburger menu. Under Recruit, we're going to go to Manage Candidates. So this is the candidate page that will appear. On the left menu bar under My Jobs, you will see the requisitions in which I am an owner. In this case, I only have one requisition out there. And so I have 8 candidates. 1 is in the interview phase and 7 are under review. And so this is the listing of candidates for that particular requisition. Now, as we are reviewing our candidate submissions, you have the option of viewing that information a couple of ways. And first, we're going to look at how to view a single candidate's information. So in order to do so, I'm going to click on that candidate's name. In this case, we're going to be looking at Betty Boop. And what appears is the candidate or the applicant profile page. You'll see the candidate's email address, phone number, address, their last position, the last company they were with, of course, the requisition that they're applying to. You can review their resume, their application. You can see the source of their application, when they applied. The access to the other tabs listed here will depend on your security access. So not everyone will have access to those tabs. And then you also see the requisition owners listed again, as well as the hiring manager. To go back to the main candidate page, what you will do is click the back button, and it will bring you back to the main candidate view. Now, to view multiple candidates, you will select the boxes next to each candidate's name and then click View Profile. So now you see you have a view in which you can kind of toggle back and forth between multiple candidates. It has their information. You can view their resume, and then just kind of toggle back and forth and compare and contrast those candidates as necessary. You also have the ability to change the status of the candidate via this screen. So if you find that they don't meet the minimum qualifications, you're able to do so via that view. But we're going to take a look at an additional way in which you can manage candidate status. So from that main candidate page, we're going to look at the Han Solo candidate. Now, he has met the minimum qualifications as indicated in the status field or the status column. And so now we're going to invite them to an interview, which is the next step in the process. You see the interview was already selected for us, so we'll just click the Save button. And once that updates, you see there that a scheduled interview button has appeared. During this presentation, we will not get into the details of scheduling an interview. There will be job aids and additional training available that will walk you through that process. But what we do want to highlight is the type of interviews that are available in Cornerstone. The first of those being in a traditional interview. This is where, with your interview team, you determine the date and time in which you want to conduct those interviews, or that interview, excuse me, and you would notify the candidate of that information. So if the interview is going to be Tuesday at 10 a.m. on March 20th, you will communicate that information to the candidate, and they will have the option to accept or decline the invitation. But the beautiful thing about Cornerstone is that you will be able to empower candidates to select their own interview dates and time. As an interview team, you will coordinate on the dates and times in which you will want to conduct interviews. And then you will create an event in which candidates will have access to that calendar. With that, they will be able to review all of the options that are available and then select that date and time. So in this case, interviews are available Monday and Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. And this candidate has selected and booked Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. All right, we have gone through the interview process. We have deemed that this candidate is now a finalist, and so we want to request some references to contact on their behalf. References were requested, as a part of the application process and higher touch. But in Cornerstone, references will not be requested until the candidate has been deemed a finalist, okay? So it is after the application process and once they have been deemed a finalist. There will be two reference options available in Cornerstone. The first of those is where we simply request the contact information of the references for that candidate. A minimum of 2 professional references will be requested from the candidate. And again, they are only requested in the event that this candidate becomes a finalist for the position. The next reference option is the faculty reference letter request. A minimum of 1 reference, name, and email address will be requested, and an email will be able to be sent via Cornerstone to that referee requesting a reference letter. Next, we're going to take at how we can extend an offer. So we have deemed this candidate a finalist. We have requested their references. We have completed that reference check, and now we want to extend an offer. In order to create an offer letter, we will start on the main candidate page. And now I'm going to work with the Raven Darkholme candidate. She has been deemed a finalist. Her department has been selected, and so we want to extend an offer letter. So we'll ensure that that status has been indicated and then click Save. Now you'll see that the Create Offer Letter button has appeared. We're going to click that button. And what this will do is return us to the candidate profile. Under the under the Status tab, we're going to scroll down to the Offer Extended portion of that tab. You'll see that there is now a Create New Letter button that has appeared, and we're going to click that button. Okay, we're going to select the template that we will be using. This is an academic professional role, so I will be selecting the 12-month permanent AP letter of offer. Once selected, you will see that there is a template or a letter template that appears for you. Now, you do have the ability to edit this letter. You can add customizable sections if necessary. And then next you will be filling in some information that is needed to complete the letter. So the start date. Now the flow of the process is that the offer letter is extended or created before the background check. What you will want to indicate as the date is a date that allows enough time for the background check to be completed. The offer letter includes language that this offer is contingent upon the completion of the background check. You're able to update the salary information and any other details as necessary. And then once done, you will click Generate Letter. All right, now we're going to send that offer letter. Okay, once we go back to the candidate profile page and under the offer extended section, you'll see that the offer letter is in process. So to access that letter, you'll click the refresh button. You'll see that the offer letter has been completed. You'll want to submit the offer letter for approval. At this time, offer letters do not require approval. If there's any changes, you will be notified of that. So for now, click the submit for approval button. It has been approved, and now you have the ability to send that offer letter. The offer letter can be sent several ways. It can be sent via the candidate profile, meaning that the candidate will receive a notification via their profile in Cornerstone. You could send an email or send it out by US mail. In this case, I'm going to send it via email. As I click the email tab, you'll see that the email address automatically appears, and then you will simply click the send email button. That will bring us back to the candidate profile. If you go back to the offer extended section, you'll see that the offer letter has been sent. Now, what you'll notice here is that there is a record response button. Now, if you send the offer letter via the candidate profile, once they have accept or decline the offer, that response will automatically be recorded by Cornerstone. But if you send out the offer letter any other way or by any other means, you will have to record that response. So if they send it out by email, you'll have to notate that. Or if they give you a verbal acceptance, et cetera, you will click this button to record that response. Now, in order to view that response, if we're back at the main candidate page, we see that there is a view response button that has appeared. So that means that a response has been recorded. As we scroll down, we see that the offer has been accepted. We're going to go back to the main candidate page and go back to that candidate. And so under offer extended, we're going to update that status to offer accepted and click save. Now that the offer has been accepted, we will want to request the background check. We're going to update the status from offer accepted to request BGC or request background check. Now the process is still the same. We're just updating the technology. So the background check team will still handle this process on your behalf. Although the assigned background check button is available, you will not have the ability to facilitate this process because you do not have the security access to do so. So keep in mind, the process is the same. We're just updating the technology. And so a notification will be sent to the background check team because you have updated the status to request BGC. Now, the final phase in the process is the hiring of that finalist. So in order to hire the finalists, I'm going to go back to the main hiring dashboard just to give you a refresher. Upper right-hand menu, we will go to Manage Candidates under Recruit. And the background check has come back all clear. And so now we're going to go to the final status, which is hired. And click the Save button. Now, if you recall, there was one opening for this requisition, but 8 candidates. Since we have made our selection, there are 7 remaining candidates. Via the screen, you have the option to leave those candidates in their current status, or we can disposition them. And we can do so by selecting one of the options from that drop-down. Once we have made our determination, we will click Save, and it will take us back to the main candidate screen. Now, those candidates that were not selected for this role, I'm sure they will be looking for some type of communication from us regarding their status. So I'm going to give you a look at or guide you through how to send an email to those candidates. So from the main candidate screen, we have the list of all of the candidates. So I'm going to send an email to Betty Boop to let her know that she has not been selected. To do so, I'm going to click on her name, which will take us back to the candidate profile. Under Summary, you see that there is a communication section. And here you have the ability to send an email from a template or a customizable email. In this case, I'm going to send email from template. I'm going to select the template. So status of job application at UIC, not selected. You'll see that the template pre-fills with the required message. Upon our review, you will simply click the send button and that email has been sent to that candidate. Now, those who will be taking these actions in Cornerstone will depend upon the role or the employee group in which you're hiring. If it's a civil service role, typically the recruiter takes a lead on a lot of these processes, and then the department HR representative takes action on the other employee group roles. So just to put that out there. Next, we're going to take a look at some display tips or system requirements. We have ultimately finished everything that we need to do in Cornerstone, and we have completed the hiring process. And so with these tips, we're just going to give you a few things to make note of as you're accessing the Cornerstone system. And the first of those are some display recommendations. The browsers that are supported are Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Safari. And you want to ensure that your screen resolution is set to 1024 by 768 or better. And Cornerstone is actually mobile friendly, which means you can access it via desktop, laptop, tablet, and cell phone device. And that is both Android and iOS systems. So that concludes the Cornerstone overview and navigation training. I'm sure you all have some questions that may need to be addressed. We are creating a frequently asked question document from all of the live webinars that we are presenting. So stay tuned from that. And there's also some additional training that is coming, on-demand training that will be online and you can access at your convenience. And we will also be looking at offering some training labs to assist with any questions that you may have. In the interim, If you have questions regarding Cornerstone, you can contact the UIC HR Help Desk at any time. If you scan the QR code on the screen, it will take you to your email so that you can send an email to them, or you can contact them via the number on the screen. And to reiterate, and as I mentioned, there will be additional training coming, and frequently asked questions comprised of all of the questions that you guys have asked over our several training sessions. That training will be on demand via our learning management system so that you can access it at any time, and then it will be available for any new team members that are added to your team as well. But I thank you so much for joining me on today to learn more about the new Cornerstone system. And like I said, hopefully you have become a little bit more comfortable with this new applicant tracking system and the benefits of it being brought to us here at UIC. Until next time, take care.